Hi everybody, it's Peter Stockdale, the host of the Spin Market Report. Are you looking for a new place to advertise your business? With over 85,000 YouTube impressions and 20,000 total streams across all platforms in the last 12 months, the Spin Market Podcast Network could be the prime space you've been looking for to advertise your business. Get a hold of Spin Market today and see what advertising on a podcast can do for you. Visit www.spinmarketwith2ks.com or email digitalagent@spinmarket.com for more information.
It's the Spin Market Report. Here's your host, Peter Stockdale.
Hey, we're back. It is the Spin Market Report. And did you know it's National Engineers Week?
Yes, we did.
It is. These two know that for sure. I'm sitting down with Michael Ensminger and Geoffrey Astor. You guys work at USG, correct?
That is correct.
Yes, all right. Could, just fresh off the bat, could you kind of say what you do there? I do have it here on my sheet, but let's tell everybody else.
Sure. USG is a manufacturer of building materials. Mm-hmm. Whether it's where you live, work, or play, you probably have USG products in there. Our biggest known product is wallboard. Our brand is called Sheetrock. And we also make ceiling tile and grid, joint compounds, cement board. If you look around in a house or in your place of work, there's most likely our products in there.
Yeah.
Well, sheetrock is like the word Kleenex.
Yes, it is.
I mean,
Yes.
everything
Yes,
is sheetrock.
Yep. Yeah. That was also something when I, Googled it and was like, what exactly is this? And what all are you making? Oh, wow. You are the company that makes this thing that I can't remember what the stat I saw, but it was, you make a majority of it, maybe not at this exact facility, but in general, your guys' company makes most of it.
That is correct.
Throughout, I don't know, maybe the world? I don't know.
We're the biggest manufacturer in the world.
Whoa, there it is. There it is.
Right here in Fort Dodge, Iowa.
And so, Michael, what do you do there?
I'm the plant manager.
Nice.
I've been at the Fort Dodge plant for about 2.5 years. I've been with USG for 30 years.
Nice. How about you, Geoff? What do you do there?
Yeah, so I'm a project engineer. I work just as mostly on large capital projects, so big infrastructure changes or equipment changes, process changes. And we've been around the area for a long time, so there's a lot of reinvestments happening right now with just new technologies to stay current in the industry in general, outside of just gypsum. But so it's a lot of my day-to-days is handling those kind of bigger ticket items that aren't just a maintenance task or preventative maintenance.
Oh, nice. So what about a little bit about the history of USG? I mean, we touched a little bit on it there, but Geoff, do you have anything like on maybe the history or its growth in the Fort Dodge area or any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So I'm actually from Fort Dodge originally, and growing up around it, I enjoy learning about history. So it just, takes up that extra slot in the back of my brain. Right. But, if you go way back, Fort Dodge, there was the fort and there was gypsum mining companies. And then the town came later. So it wasn't a company town, but you can think of it that way. That was in the 1800s. Along the way, one of the local companies, and it was 1902, I think, became incorporated with a couple other companies around America and became USG. A couple years later, 4 or 5 other local companies merged the Fort Dodge plant and created USG here in town. So we've been around Fort Dodge specifically for whatever 2025 minus 1902 is.
Wow.
Yeah. Almost
123 years.
Yeah, almost 125 years you've been working here in Fort Dodge. Not you specifically. So you look great for 125 years. So what inspired you guys to join USG? I mean, we can go down the line and ask each one of you this, but like not only that, but how did you get to where you are professionally? Because I mean, these aren't just jobs you walk in off the street and get, I don't think.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I've not been in the working world for too long. I've only been with USG about 7 or 8 months. It's my first full-time job out of school. I went to Iowa State University for mechanical engineering. And then a big part of the reason I came back is first job coming back to the town I grew up in, having family around was a big thing for me. I know that doesn't apply to everybody. But there's a lot of choices for industry around here, and I landed on USG because I like the the overall scope of what we're doing. I liked the people. I met this guy, Michael, here, and he seemed like a pretty good guy to work for. So it was a lot of the people, and then also the opportunities for growth within the company. My job specifically, there's a lot of stuff happening right now is most plain way to put it. So there's it's a lot of work and a lot of interesting work. It's one of the things I enjoy is that it's not, you're not set in one thing every day. Since there's so much going on, it's kind of each day is a new feel and a new project. And sometimes it's like, okay, let's tackle what's going on today. And so those are a whole bunch of reasons I landed on USG.
I feel like that's the mindset of the engineer. I took a bunch of engineering courses growing up. I went to engineering competitions in high school and things like that. I don't know if you ever did jets or anything like that, but my sister's an engineer. She sounds like she's a lot like, you two are similar in that aspect where it's like, there's a lot going on, but for some reason this all interests me and I want to get to the end of it and see what's at the other side of it when we get all these problems solved. It's such a fun thing.
Yeah. Part of it is, I get to work with, to dumb it down, right, is there's a lot of money and that's kind of cool for a 23-year-old.
Wow.
Well, you put the work in to earn it. So I'm not going to discredit that at all because being an engineer there's a lot of moving parts, like you said. It's not an easy job. What about you, Michael?
So I had a bit of a similar starting point as Geoff did. I grew up in southeast Iowa in a little town called Mediapolis, 1,600 employees, and just outside of there is...
We used to have fabulous basketball teams.
Oh, go ahead and say girls basketball.
Yes, okay, girls basketball.
And there's a USG plant right there. So growing up, I knew of family and friends that had well-paying jobs at that plant. And, I graduated high school. I went off to University of Iowa to get my business degree and came back home, similar to Geoff. And I found out the opportunities to grow with USG. USG's got, 8,000 employees and 50 manufacturing plants across North America. Wow. And I thought it was a good opportunity for me to get started in my career.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
So what are some of the most rewarding aspects of your job, Geoff?
For me, it's the problem-solving aspect. I touched, that's true of almost all engineering positions, right? But I touched a little bit on before. There's a very broad scope of what I'm able to work on in my position. That's not necessarily true everywhere. A lot of times it's more on the design side, but a lot of times you get super focused on optimizing one thing. Well, I get to kind of fit the shoes of a lot of different aspects, whether it be, a new technology we're implementing, or we just need to put siding on this building, right? There's a lot of unique problems that each present. And I guess that's why I went to engineering, is I find it fun and enjoying to try to solve those.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, again, that just seems like the engineer's mindset. And, what better time to bring an engineer, in here at National Engineers Week. So it's pretty cool. What challenges do you face in your role that, maybe how do you navigate them? Because like you said, you have a lot of moving parts in your job. Like, is that probably the biggest thing is time management?
Yeah. So time management. And the other thing is, while filling kind of all those different little roles and not necessarily specializing in one thing also provides the biggest challenge as well. Because not like I'm an expert in anything. I'm only 23 years old, right? But you kind of do have to have a bit broad, or learn to have a broad way of thinking about all sorts of different types of industries and ways to implement things. I might be, like I mentioned before, I might be putting us in some new technology and I need to essentially be our plant local expert on that. Or I might need to help figure out, we ran into some issue with the siding on the building. I've never done that before. How can I figure out what needs to happen? And what I've learned is that we have a great team around us, our operators, all the way up to our supervisors and managers. If someone's been there for 40 years doing it, they have a great knowledge base that I can draw upon and that you just can't get without that time. So that was the biggest thing that I've learned, is being able to use your resources. And a lot of times that means just working with your peers.
Again, spoken like a true engineer. I don't know how much I can key in on this. This is some really fun stuff. So how does your role contribute to the overall mission and success of USG? Let me ask you that one next.
Yeah. Right. So Michael mentioned a little bit before some of the products we make, and none of that is possible if your machines are breaking down. That's part of what I do, and not quite as much as the maintenance. But there's also something to be said for implementing the new technologies and trying to stay current with the industry in general. If we don't try to continue to innovate or continue to implement new ways of accomplishing a process, we're going to get left behind. Mm-hmm. So that helps us strive to continue to be the leader in the building materials market that we are.
Peter, there's one thing I'd like to add.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fort Dodge is kind of a specialty plant because we make products and raw materials that we send to other USG plants for them to make products.
Okay.
So because we have a low-cost rock in our quarry,
it
makes it economical for us to source raw materials for our other plants.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. That's great.
I didn't even know to ask that. So that's good. I will take more facts like that, please.
There's also, to that same aspect, we have, like Michael mentioned, low cost and also high purity gypsum, but we're also just very centrally located in the U.S., so it's pretty cheap to get and quick to get one place or another. It's a lot more expensive to get from New York to California than it is to get from Fort Dodge to California.
That's true.
It's just distance.
That's one of the selling points of Fort Dodge is the transportation, where we're located at in the middle of the United States with two competing railroads as well as interstate and a great highway system.
Yeah, it's all right here. I used to say that when I would go to like concerts and things back in the day. It's like, well, I can go to Minneapolis. It's only a couple, 3 hours maybe tops. Same thing with Des Moines, hour and a half. It's just kind of like Omaha, same deal. It's about 3 hours or so. Everything's right. We're right in the middle of everything, right in the middle of all the hot spots. So, so what sets USG apart, in building materials industry? Like, just to me, somebody that doesn't know too much about it, how would you explain that?
I'd say two things that really set things apart. One is safety, and the other one is innovation.
Okay.
I think USG is the leader in its industry and innovation. And as far as safety, USG's got a wonderful track record. They put a tremendous amount of focus on it. In my 30 years, it's probably the thing that I'm most proud of working for USG for 30. We put a lot of pride, not only at Fort Dodge, but we have a plant in the Houston area that has 35 plus years without a lost time injury.
Whoa, that's my age. That's longer than you've been alive. I'm not trying to pigeonhole you or anything.
That's amazing.
That is wild. That is so cool. That's something to champion and be proud of for sure. So hats off to you guys at USG for that. What about innovation? So how does innovation play a role in USG's product development and operations, Michael?
Okay, we got our headquarters in Chicago, and just north of there, about an hour, we have our research center. We spent a lot of resources every year on that research to continue to develop innovative products that provide solutions to our customers. So I really think it sets us apart from our other people in the industry. Here's just an example of some innovation. Probably 20 years ago, 1,000 square feet of wallboard weighed 2,000 pounds, and maybe now it weighs 1,400 pounds. If you think of the impact on the end user of lifting that board day in and day out, and now it's 40% less, it has a big impact on our customers.
Wow, that's a great example. I would have never even thought of even shipping. Like it costs less to ship it because
you can ship more on a truck.
Wow, that's crazy.
And has to be easier on the building itself as well when you're trying to put the whole end of the construction as well.
I never even thought about that. Yeah, like if you build a building, like I'm sure it wears on it if you have heavier material that's inside the building. And maybe it might. I'm not an engineer, so I don't know anything about structural stability, but
One point too, Michael just did a great job touching on some of the safety aspect of what we currently hold ourselves to. That next step is holding the third parties we use and our end customer safety as well. So you also, if a panel of drywall is 50% lighter than it used to be, it's a lot less weight to carry around every day when you're doing a whole building.
Yeah.
Our ready mix muds or our different, taping muds, we have our lightweights that sell really well because I don't know about you, but if I can save 20 pounds when I'm walking up 3 stories, how many times a day, I'll take it. And there's challenges with that too, right? There's something to be said for sometimes if there's a product that works really well. And if I'm a contractor, it's been great for me and I want to stay with that. You can't become complacent and keep that let that keep you from innovating to create new products and new innovations.
Yeah,
right.
I think the way you touched on it there, so sometimes just having something new, you're like, I don't know if I like this only because it's new. It could be better, and I'm just too used to the old way, and I mean that could be something to be said. I mean I go through that with like, let's say like shoes or something. I have like a certain type of shoes I always like to wear, and it's like these shoes are better. It's like I still like these, and it's why did you have to innovate, But innovation is key to staying in the forefront of your industry. So that's very important. You guys both brought up really good points about that. I never really even thought about like the end user, how much that wear and tear on their body it saves, which could save injuries even, like you said, if you're carrying up a big heavy load of stuff up a few flights of stairs, if it's lighter, it's easier, and that would just make it easier for everybody involved. I love it. This is some of the good stuff. I love talking about this stuff on this podcast because I think I have a good idea. Right when I think I have all the answers, you guys change the questions, and I love it. I love it so much.
Well, and I think that's one of the important things that if you're not in the manufacturing world, a lot of people don't think to ask that question. Right. At the end of the day, whether my job is to actually work with the customer or not, I have to think about their needs, what they do on a day to day, because they buy the product that keeps us in business. Right. Yeah. So if we're not going to sell it, if we're not going to think about what impacts them, even when it's just, there could be the smallest change in manufacturing, but you have to look down that scope of what's it going to change for our end user, not necessarily a product, but how's it going to change? And sometimes it might even be just the way they interpret it, or maybe it looks a little different. And like you said with your shoes, I was like, it looks a little different. It's not what I've been using for the last 30 years. So I'm going to stay away. Mm-hmm. How is that going to impact your sales, and how, your construction companies or whoever it is down the line interpret your products?
I love it. Yeah. The innovation is so important. And it's nice knowing that you guys are out there doing that. I mean, maybe not directly in your positions, but your R&D, over top of USG is doing that kind of stuff. Cause, there's no point in like staying complacent, I guess. It just doesn't benefit everybody, Michael, how does USG support Fort Dodge community through its operations or possibly even its initiatives in the community?
Gotcha. Great question. I got here in 2022, and we're just coming off COVID, and community activities really slowed down during COVID, as you can imagine. And so it's been exciting to get more participation in the Growth Alliance. We have a program called Give Local, where each manufacturing facility every year can give a charity donation of $5,000 to a local charity. And also just the annual food drive, right? We're trying to get more involved just with where people live and work.
Yeah, you said Give Local. Is that every plant can do that?
Yep.
That's 50 plants giving out $5,000. That's a lot of money you guys are giving away to local charities to help.
It's a great program.
To help the communities grow.
And one of the things I love about that program, and I haven't been here very long, but I've picked up on the importance of it, is we get to, if there's a program that I think is worthy and local, I'll go to Michael and say, hey, I think we should do this one. And we'll bank all those together. Then everybody across our plant will vote on which one we want to do.
Oh, nice.
So the employees get to decide where we're going. So this last calendar year, 2024, we gave it to the city of Spencer, who was just ravaged by the floods earlier in the year. So, but that's one of the things that makes that aspect more personable to me. It's like I have an actual say in where it's going, rather than just working for the company that decided to give it here for a tax break,
Yeah, because USG could just as easy just like pull up a map of Fort Dodge, throw a dart, and just be like, this sounds good, but they're giving you guys the autonomy. Yeah. Your whole plant has the autonomy to decide where your money gets to go, and that's so beautiful. So you had mentioned giving back to the local community through like charities and things like that. Are there other specific programs or partnerships you guys have locally, USG, that they have, like maybe local organizations, schools, things like that? Is there anything else you guys are partnered up with?
That's a great question. And here in the last couple of years, we've been working with Senior High, Fort Dodge Senior High, and working at their career fairs, not only at Senior High, but also Iowa Central.
Cool.
Yes. Also, the last couple of years, we've been working with Beth Wilder, with Fort Dodge High School to have students come out and tour the facility.
Nice.
Which has been a great experience. And then I think last summer we had actually a high school teacher come and shadow our management team for a week to get a better understanding of our work environment and career opportunities.
That's awesome. I remember being in high school. You're a little bit closer than I am, but I remember being in high school and I was just like, I think I know how all this stuff works. Kind of like this podcast. I think I know what you guys do. I guarantee if I walked into your guys' plant, I would be like, wow. And that's one of those cool things you can provide to, people that are learning or getting ready to join the workforce even, or going to school to find out where they want to go join the workforce. They can walk through a plant like that and say, I could see myself doing something like this or something like that person over there. And, maybe that would help them choose their career path even. It's very, very noble.
We've just to add a couple things, right? Just to get the USG name in the community, right? We started doing the Fit Night, right? Browns puts on Fit Night every Thursday during the summer. This year we did the lights at Kennedy. Again, just trying to make it so we're engaging our employees to be proud about what we're doing.
Geoff, what environmental or sustainability efforts is USG involved in at the Fort Dodge facility?
Yeah. So we talked a little earlier about innovation and stuff like that, and the product side. Well, obviously there's that on the manufacturing side too, and a big part of that these days is environmental ability, right? And so we've got a big company-wide goal to by 2036 decrease our CO2 emissions by 50%, which is huge, massive, and so there's a good chunk of every day for me that is focused on how can we do this. Some of our big aspects I'm looking at right now are things like heat recovery. There's a lot of energy in heat, and if we're just throwing it out a smokestack, how can we better utilize that? If we're putting 700 degrees out, we can somehow recycle that into another machine and maybe siphon off more essentially, and then put out 200 degree heat. Well, that's kilojoules of energy that you've saved and reused. Another aspect is water. So right now we're kind of in the data collection stages of that, at least at our local plant. And so we're looking at how much water do we use? Are there better ways that we can, again, recycle? A lot of our water is heating, think boilers, stuff like that. So it can be recycled, it can be reused. It's not wastewater. But if we can recycle it through 5 machines instead of 1 or 2, all of a sudden we're drawing a lot less. So therefore less take on the city water, less, we're pumping out less into just other areas. There's less chances of erosion and stuff like that. So there's a lot of moving parts with those kind of things. And the last part is air. So for example, all of our air, all of our emissions, we have to go through DNR regulations and all that stuff, of course. But what kind of goal is it to strive for passing, right?
Yeah.
So what can we do to continue to improve our emissions, and on that same side of the coin, improve the environment for our workers? I don't know about you, but I don't want to be sitting there. Even, gypsum is completely inert. It's not going to hurt you if you consume it. In fact, gypsum a lot of times is used as a purifier in beer and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
One of our plants, I believe is Oklahoma, I think makes food grade gypsum.
Wow.
So it's not a big deal if you inhale it, right? But it takes kind of a mental toll on you when you're sitting there breathing it in all day, and not that we do, but how can we continue to eliminate that?
I think we actually have a brewery here in Fort Dodge that has a gypsum product.
I see.
Yeah, there's I can't remember the name of it.
River Hops.
River Hops. Yeah, I was thinking of the actual name of the beer.
Oh,
but
yeah.
there's a gypsum related one that they're leaning more into that. I guess so. A little background: going back to Iowa State University, I was in a beer brewing class. I just thought it'd be fun, and this was not too long after I accepted my position with USG, and I was going through the recipe, and it called for gypsum, and I went, "What the heck?" And I looked at the bag, and sure enough, it's a little bag of USG food grade gypsum, and we're using it to for chemical balances in the water, because water chemistry is a big thing there. But anyway,
that's cool. That's full circle. A lot of what you were saying made me think about this. Like when I was in school, we had a science teacher, very smart individual, kind of taught us how like different processes you would get to like an end result. I'm not going to say the product because there are facilities near the area that make it. We're not talking to those people right now, but you mentioned like reclaiming heat or reclaiming, maybe steam or something like that. Those were things that I never even really thought about until he introduced the idea of that. Like you can make this, but there's a bunch of heat that's lost. Somebody found a more efficient way to do it by saving some of the heat and reusing it. And it's like, I never would have thought about reusing heat in a process, and that's something that the engineer's mind, you guys are thinking about things like that. Cause how many people are going to have to go Google kilojoules, to be like, what does that even, what does that even mean?
Right. Well, and that's what's, one of the things I like about USG and our sustainability goals, right? To be honest, right. It doesn't make financial sense to go install heat exchangers and do all that. It's a lot cheaper, especially around our area, because natural gas is cheap right now. It's a lot cheaper just to throw it out the window, and who cares, pay for another cubic foot of natural gas. But what is that solving? Maybe it's padding our pocketbook a little better. Yeah. But in the long run, first of all, there's monetary aspects of everything, right? It can't be way out there. But in the long run, we will eventually save money on it. But the biggest thing is we're not going to see a return for a while, but we're reinvesting in our local ecosystem.
Exactly. 100%. And it's like you said earlier, like why strive to just be good enough? Right. Why not strive to be the best? That's why you guys are the biggest producer in your industry of a multitude of things, and like it's fun talking about like gypsum. Like the first time I ever saw a piece of gypsum, I was just like, this is what it actually looks like. I never even knew this, and then you find out it's like, oh, this is in everything. It's in everything. Yeah. You walk in any building, it's in all over inside of the building. You might not even know it, but it's there. I love it. So Michael, how does USG market its products? Maybe including digital marketing. Is that something you guys also do?
Without a doubt, especially over the last, 4 or 5 years, digital has become more of an impact, right? Whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram,
TikTok.
I don't think we're on TikTok yet. But we go to market in different channels, right? The easiest is most visible is probably the big box, the stores, the Home Depots, the Lowe's, the Menards. Mm-hmm. But also we go to architects. Architect get the specs for these big projects, and we will call on our salespeople. Will call on them to try to figure out if our products is going to work best for them. Oh, so we have 600 salesmen and salespeople in North America, and we call on our customers in that manner.
That's awesome. You brought up business to business marketing, which is something again that like probably about 10 or 15 episodes into this, I was like, I never even thought about that. It's like, you think like you're just trying to make a sale, but at the same time, you're like, will this work for you? And could this possibly even improve your process in your architect, for an architect to look at something like that? And that's something I never really even thought about it like that. Like, I think the one that struck me the most was like using locally sourced, wheat for flour for bread was like something that somebody had brought up. And I was like, I never even would have thought about that, and like my brain is just like trying to think like, don't sell me something, but at the same time, like if this product is better, why wouldn't you want to use it? And that's business to business marketing. And that's something, for some reason, I forget about that. Every time somebody brings it up, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot all about this. Cause my brain just goes to end user, like always. And that's not always what you guys are going for, is the, what can the end user do with this to better what they're doing, and always thinking about that. It's again, this is something that's way larger than what my questionnaire had pigeonholed all this to be. And I think that's one of the great parts about this conversation, is learning a lot of that stuff. So let's talk about how you stay competitive in the building materials market. Like, Michael, like we had talked a little bit about this, but do you have anything to add on that topic as far as like, R&D and being competitive salespeople?
It gets back to innovation, right? The more that we can provide value to our customers, value proposition, our goal is to make our customers more successful than our competitors' customers.
Wow. Again, that's such a great way to say that in one sentence. And it's like, I never would have even thought about wording it like that, but that's great.
He's got his elevator speech down pat.
Well, it's genius. I don't know. It's maybe you've been working on this, maybe you haven't. Maybe this is just always top of mind for you going into work every single day when you're thinking about this. But that's a great way to put this. You're trying to put more profit in the pockets of other people in the grand scheme of things.
Sure.
It's brilliant.
Yeah. It's one of those reasons like that as an end user, you choose one product over another. You know, you can go and I'm not going to pull up any exact examples, mainly because I can't think of any right now other than our products. But are you always picking what is cheapest?
No, actually.
Right. And not to say ours are more expensive or anything like that, but you're not always just going off of, what has worked for you in the past? What do I see longevity in this? Or, a lot of my coats in the past have been Carhartt because they've held up great and they've been really warm. You know, why would go away when they have such a track record of being reliable? And like Michael, you mentioned that innovation piece of it, just nature of R&D. You're going to have some flops. Nothing's ever going to be, not every product is going to be a game changer, but you can't be afraid to make those mistakes. Cause I mean, how many learning opportunities are there and everything that you fail at? There's a good example. I honestly can't remember if we touched on it, but sheetrock, I know we touched on that a little bit, was originally plasterboard. There's another name, gypboard. Is that what it was? Was invented by USG employee and was first produced at the Fort Dodge plant.
Cool.
Right. So I don't know for sure, but I can't imagine everybody when that first came out just straight up dropped all their current building techniques, right?
That's true.
But
I'm sure there was a lot of skepticism.
Yes.
People going, okay, what makes this better than what I'm already using out there?
And you go through gypboard and then plasterboard and then drywall, which our version is sheetrock. And again, that's kind of like you mentioned earlier. A lot of people call it all drywall sheetrock. Sheetrock is a USG term. Right. It's trademarked. It's like calling a tissue.
Tissue Kleenex,
right? But you can't be afraid to try to introduce those new things. And when it doesn't go as planned, you have to be able to look back at it and what went wrong, how can we improve this, and what is because ultimately, and you've mentioned a couple of times, we have to think of the end user, because if they're not going to continue to buy our product, we're not going to continue to stay in business.
Yeah. I mean, you'd mentioned like a flop is not necessarily a failure. It's a learning opportunity. Like something that it's always tough. Like growing up, you're like, all right, this is a failure, but it's not really a failure because it's just an opportunity to do something better. And maybe what comes right after that could be the best thing you've ever done, Yeah. And it's also like to know that you guys invented that right here in Fort Dodge. Yes. It's cool to know that Fort Dodge has been, doing stuff like that for 123 years, I think we decided.
USG, quick math, right? 123. Don't fact check me.
Yeah.
But and then even beyond that, local economy and stuff. Gypsum's been here, I don't know, mid 1800s, right? I mean, it's and a lot of the industry in general, trucking industry, companies around the area, and then just you're putting good, high paying or well-paying jobs back into the market, which then feeds the economy, obviously, right? So restaurants and all those indirect contributing factors.
I'm trying to think, like, what was before, like, drywall was a thing? Was it the slat and plaster on the...
Plaster.
Yeah, so that was like you would have studs and then you put little pieces of wood and then you'd plaster this like concrete junk into it, and that's believe it or not, that's what's in my house. Because we went to like redo one of the rooms and it was like, oh, this is a mess. So I'm sure drywall is even a little bit cleaner than that, when you sit and think about like set up, tear down, all that. Oh wow. So that's really cool. It's nowadays it's 100+ years later, but it's like I don't know why anybody would even want to go do that. It seems like it would take so long to do the plaster and the walls and everything, and now it's just nice and easy and it's done.
And if someone didn't put in the innovation and the time and the risk of spending that money and seeing no return, we wouldn't have it. We'd probably still be doing plaster, right? There's a million ways you can speculate that stuff, but that's why you keep going back to it. And you can't be afraid to have a failure, because who knows, maybe it'll change the industry and maybe it'll be the biggest thing you learn for your next product.
That's awesome. So Michael, let's talk about educating contractors, builders, and consumers about your products. How do you go about doing that other than just normal marketing avenues?
I'd say two big things would be a great resource is USG.com. We have all of our bulletins on there. But we also do a tremendous amount of trade shows where we meet up with contractors and architects to show the specs that we have in our products.
So you're going right to the end user in some capacity in that way, and
Yes.
and for anybody that's not an end user, they can go right to your website, which there will be a link in the description. You can just go right on there and check it out and find anything you need to know about any of their products and what's coming up as far as USG news. Career opportunities. Let's say somebody's now interested, because you guys talked very highly about USG. I'm even intrigued. Sorry, Cheryl. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Don't
take him away from us, all right?
Let's say somebody, went to engineering school and they're thinking, maybe I want to be an engineer. Maybe they have like a business degree and I want to try and find a way to be a businessman at USG. What are the ways that people can, look for career opportunities there?
Take a stab.
Oh, me. Yeah, right. Applying online is definitely probably one of the easiest options. A couple times a year, we usually host hiring events for the local community. That's always a good turnout. Other than that, you just reach out. There's a lot of openings. If somebody wants to come to USG Fort Dodge, be another engineer, I would love that. Got to get permission from Michael here, but I think we're looking for one. So
that's awesome.
So again, USG.com. It's got all of our career opportunities. We're doing some open recruiting at some core schools right now, month of February and March. But really what I think is exciting is, and Geoff touched on it earlier, was the amount of our investment that our company is committed to, and which having investment allows us to do projects, and we need engineers to do these projects. So when you have that, you have opportunities to grow and, again, develop into your career.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about investing in your own products, investing in your community, investing in the end user. You guys, that's basically like your guys' job is focused around, or USG's, industry, in their industry is focused around just bettering the lives of anybody that interacts with them, basically in some capacity or another. And it's just such a great thing to know that. And that's like you said, it's forefront enough in the company that you guys are here talking about with us today. And also I do want to say once again, it is National Engineers Week. So if you know an engineer, thank an engineer. Most of the stuff chairs wouldn't be, none of this stuff in this room would be around without engineers,
Exactly.
computers, we're talking anything, and it's also crazy to know that you guys work in an industry where you're making building materials, but you also said gypsum can be food grade, and you do have plants that are making food grade gypsum, which is
animal feed, pig feed.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Again, this is all stuff that's not on the list. I didn't think about it. This has been a great conversation with you guys. And we're getting down to the end of this. And I ask everybody that comes on here the same question, because we are a marketing firm. Can you guys name a time in your life where marketing possibly impacted you and you didn't know it until afterwards? And you're like, oh yeah.
I got one.
All right. What do we got?
Be like Mike.
Oh, wow.
Air Jordan, probably the biggest marketing, I don't know what you even call it, but it just blew up.
Yeah.
Right back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And you bought those shoes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
They're still some of the most popular shoes. And believe it or not, we were talking Apple the other day, and I was like, Apple's like one of the biggest in the world at marketing forever. Cheryl was like, what about Nike? And I was like, oh, and there we go. We're talking already. Be like Mike, Air Jordans, the whole 9 yards. It came up organically. So yes, Nike.
Yeah. I guess I was going to go with Nike as well. Not necessarily the Michael Jordan. It was a little bit before my time. But just in general, I'm a big Iowa State fan, went to school there, and a big football fan. And the investment they put into their marketing and sponsoring and endorsing teams you sit back sometimes and think, oh, well, how is that worth it? And then you think, oh yeah, everywhere I see a Nike jersey, I want this jersey, I see Nike, and then all of a sudden they're the forefront. So it's like, it's just in your mind. I guess the other more silly one is the Jake from State Farm commercial.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It's in my head all the time.
And he just started out as a actual telephone answering gentleman.
Yeah.
And look at
Yeah,
Jake at
Yeah.
State Farm.
Back the original Jake from the State Farm commercial. I could be wrong, but I think it aired during one of the Super Bowls.
I think you might be right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Well, she sounds hideous.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's just-
exactly.
It's in my mind all the time.
It's a great one. It was a classic.
That's one of the funny things about commercials too, is like, how many times have you been like, oh, I saw this commercial, it's so funny, what's it for? But that one, it's like burned right in there. It's Jake from State Farm. We all know that it's Jake from State Farm because it's Jake from State Farm, so it's one of those things where a good commercial like that, even if it's silly, as long as they do it the correct way, you will know exactly what it's for. Because how many times have you been like, oh, there's this funny commercial, I don't know what it's for. And then it's like, oh, it's for, whatever this, that, and the other ABC company. Like, I didn't even remember that. But I remember the commercial So, that's where like having a commercial that's that memorable, you got to make sure you brand it well enough that somebody's going to remember what the brand's actually for.
We've also brought up at another podcast talking about food and NFL.
Oh, yeah.
That football is actually designed to sell food.
Oh, yeah. Those commercials have been going around.
Yeah.
On there.
Is it like Hulu Eats or something,
Yes.
something like that?
Yeah.
Doing that, yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah. So this is basically the end of this. I do want to say when you said Michael Jordan was before your time, I was like, get out of here. And I was like, oh, it was.
It was.
Whoops. All right.
Whoops.
So I guess we're all getting a little bit older here, a little bit smarter. I just want to say thank you guys for taking time out of your day. You're obviously very busy people, but thank you for taking time out of your day from USG to come to Spin Market and talk to us on this podcast. This was very enlightening, honestly.
Very good.
I, again, went into this thinking I knew and I had a good idea of how this was going to go, and it was so much more entertaining and educational than I could have ever imagined it being. You guys were very well spoken about the topics on here, so I got to say thank you guys for taking time out of your day to join us.
Well, thank you for having us on.
Yeah, we appreciate the opportunity.
Very
Absolutely.
welcome.
Go down below in the descriptions, check out all the links, click on everything, and thank you guys, and thank you USG.
Like, share.
Yes, subscribe as well. It's also National Engineers Week.
Yes.
Happy National Engineers
There you
Week
go.
again, everybody. This podcast is produced by Spin Market and Digital. Located in Fort Dodge, Iowa, Spin Market's highly skilled team can help you increase your market by updating your website, improving SEO, designing advertisements, and producing podcasts that will grab the attention of your market. Contact Spin Market today for all your digital marketing needs at digitalagent@spinmarket.com or call us at 515-302-8026. And to learn more, visit our website at www.spinmarket.com. That's digitalagent@spinmarket.com or 515-302-8026. Or visit our website at www.spinmarket.com.